We've introduced you to unique craft breweries across New York State. But what do they all have in common? A dedication to working together. In this episode of Brewed New York, we'll learn how the brewers of New York State are strengthening the craft beer industry statewide.
Discover even more local foods and beverages at Taste New York locations throughout the state. Whether you're at a state park, sporting event, or stopping at one of our New York welcome centers, it's never been easier to choose local and buy New York. Unilam, a family-owned business in upstate New York serving the building industry for over a century. You can spot Unilam's finely crafted timber products in breweries throughout New York State and beyond. Learn more at unilam.com. 1886 Malt House, proudly partnering with New York's finest grain growers to produce locally sourced, high-quality malt for farm and craft breweries. The Northeast Hop Alliance, farmers, brewers, and educators working together to provide high-quality, locally grown hops to craft beer consumers in New York and the Northeast.
Since the 1990s, America has seen the steady emergence of micro and craft breweries providing an increasingly popular artisan alternative to mass-produced beer.
For New York State, this craft revolution is more like a renaissance, since New York has one of the richest brewing histories of any state in the country. Still, in the 21st century craft beer wave, we've lagged a bit behind other states like Oregon and Colorado.
But over the last few years, we've seen explosive growth. We now have more breweries in New York State than ever before.
We also have more people than ever before, which means we still have plenty of room for market growth in the years ahead. Paul Leone, Executive Director of the New York State Brewers Association, explains.
What we're seeing right now in the craft beer industry is really unprecedented in a lot of ways in terms of growth. We're opening in New York State about one brewery every 10 days. So as long as the quality stays good, you could end up seeing 600 to 700 breweries in New York State before it really levels out.
If you're a beer drinker right now, this is the best that we've ever had in the history of beer in New York. And it really is exciting. It's fun to see, it actually come around from where we started, where people weren't really sure what this stuff was.
The great thing about the craft beer industry is that it has an incredible impact on New York State.
How have you seen your business drive tourism?
The industry is really becoming a hotspot as people want to go and experience local products. In our region, the Lake George region, there's 50 wineries, breweries, craft distilleries. So to come here, you get a great region, you get some great products, and it really makes for a cool vacation for somebody coming.
As a craft brewer, and in particular a New York State craft brewer, it's very much a community. We're a rising tide lifts all boats kind of business. My approach is, and I would argue that the approach of many craft brewers is, I want another brewer down the street from me, and I want another guy across the road from me. It's a lot easier to convince somebody to go to a part of town if you can hit up a couple of different breweries.
You have to look at what a brewery is. A brewery moves into a small town, maybe a town with not much going on in it. Then a restaurant moves in, and then other restaurants move in, and other stores move in. And so what it does is that it revitalizes communities. It has a tremendous economic impact, over $4 billion on New York State.
Although they're celebrated for their artistry, ultimately craft breweries are businesses, and they're selling a regulated product.
Yeah, there's a lot of laws to keep in mind. They're also small businesses, which means they're continually up against competition from larger corporations.
In order to survive, often small businesses will band together into professional organizations, leveraging strength in numbers.
The craft brewers of New York have become wise to this strategy thanks to one particularly forward-thinking brewer who recognized in the early 2000s it was time to come together toward a common goal.
Tell me about your relationship with the New York State Brewers Association.
In 2003, I was at TAP New York, and late one night, a dispute occurred between a couple of brewers, good friends of mine, and they were arguing about pricing.
And it was that night that they all got together and said, you know what, we shouldn't be fighting each other. We need to come together. There are far bigger forces for us to be fighting against.
What we should be doing is really going after the importers and big beer. If we didn't create a unified front, we would literally eat each other. And we didn't want to do that.
And it was after that night that the New York State Brewers Association was founded.
The real purpose of the association at first was to increase awareness of craft beer to the consumer. And the bottom line was that the consumer wasn't educated. So let's do events throughout New York State that could educate the consumer on what craft is all about.
The great thing about New York State brewing industry and what we try to advocate for is unity. You have to be one. That's the only way you're going to get things done. Our point is to unify our membership, unify our legislative agenda, unify our message. That's going to travel much faster than being separate.
We're out there every day trying to get New Yorkers to realize that there is a New York brewing industry that they should be getting behind. The growth of the beer industry is growing those local economies, and in some cases those local economies have been beleaguered, for the last few decades. And so contributing to the economic growth of the regions in the state is a big part of what we're proud to be doing.
It's been a boom for jobs. It's been a boom for just manufacturing products broadly. And there have been a bunch of things around both legislation as well as education that have been fantastic for brewers, small brewers in particular.
The biggest benefit of the New York State Brewers Association, especially for its members, is we're kind of their insurance policy. We are always watching the industry to make sure that it grows the way that it should grow. Should legislation pop up that be harmful in any way, we're there to protect them, and we're also there to promote their product.
There are a lot of laws, especially concerning the manufacture and the sale of alcohol. So one of the things that the Brewers Association is really about is trying to cut through red tape and bureaucracy and see what we can do at the state capitol to make it easier for every brewer to run their business.
And with the administration and certainly Governor Cuomo looking at the beer industry as another opportunity to be an agricultural component of New York State, they latched onto it and really did so many incredible things to assist our growth and our ability to grow as an industry throughout New York. So it's worked.
Governor Cuomo's administration has implemented a strategy of championing all craft beverage industries, beer, wine, and spirits, with the idea that by making it easier for these businesses to operate in New York, it'll be a boon to the state's agriculture as well.
After all, making these beverages requires ingredients like fruit, grain, and hops, which can all be grown in New York, and we're in the state's beer-making heyday.
With these investments in craft beverage and agriculture, many hope these industries will thrive throughout the state once again.
We have invested very heavily in the wine, beer, and spirits industry. We have then combined that industry with the tourism industry. Those two industries have a synergy between them that is dynamite. I think it will unleash even more entrepreneurial activity. We want you to do well. And if you do well, you're creating jobs, that's opportunity, and the state does well.
As we heard earlier, one of the main goals of the New York State Brewers Association, beyond legislation, is educational outreach. And they found that one of the best ways to do this is through hosting annual beer festivals across the state.
Now, many breweries will host their own festivals. We've even visited some on this show, like Belgium comes to Cooperstown at Omegang and Barrel Fest at Adirondack Brewing.
But when the Brewers Association hosts a festival, they focus on gathering exclusively New York State breweries to interact with attendees. And there are quite a few benefits to doing so.
What makes our festivals unique is that the brewers are there pouring the beer, which is different today. Most beer festivals have volunteers pouring the beer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the consumer wants to know, hey, this is really good. What's it called? And where's it from, and what am I tasting? So when you come to our beer festivals, you'll hear that rumbling. There's as much talking as drinking going on at our beer festivals because that little bit of education the consumer craves.
So what do you say we check out a few of the festivals put on by the New York State Brewers Association?
I'd love to, but before we do, here's a little information about how to get a true flavor of the experience.
Craft 101.
Craft beer is like art, and the process for taking it in is similar. You may not know everything about the artist or the style of painting, but you know what you like, and everyone's taste is a little different. So while subjective, it's fun to talk about beer with friends and appreciate the craft that has gone into it. In fact, in doing this, you may find new breweries and styles that you didn't even know you could love. So what are some guidelines for tasting beer? Well, the most important thing is that you give the beer some thought, taking time with the experience. As soon as beer hits the glass, take it in visually. Notice the color. Is it gold, reddish, brown, or black? What about the opacity? Can you see through it? Is it cloudy or clear? And lastly, notice the head. How foamy is it? All of these factors help to tell the story of a beer. Next, take a whiff. They say that aroma is 75% of the flavor of a beer, so really take it in. You're looking for hop oils, fruit ester notes, roastiness, yeast complexity. When you're new to tasting, you may not know what these things smell like exactly, but over time, you'll learn to identify them. Now it's time to take a taste. See if you can identify notes of the malt used. Lighter beers will have more of a cracker or bready flavor, while beers from darker malts like this stout will have hints of caramel or roasted cocoa. Does the beer taste sweet or bitter to you? Can you detect hop flavors of citrus, flowers, or pine? And lastly, notice the mouthfeel or texture. Is it crisp or creamy? Does it finish dry? Try to put into words what you experience, and remember that there are no wrong impressions. In fact, going to a beer festival is a great way to ask brewers questions about what's in the beer, and then taste those ingredients in real time. If you want to really geek out, write down your thoughts in a notebook like I do. Cheers. There are at least 3 official New York State Brewers Association festivals each year, and they bring together dozens of brewers to share over 150 rare and award-winning beers with attendees. From Albany to Utica to Syracuse, each event has its own unique character. The first stop on our festival tour is Albany, New York, where members of the Brewers Association come together every March at the Desmond Hotel. The festival for the public is also planned to coincide with their annual conference, where New York brewers can share information about topics from dry hopping and oxygen in beer to trademarking and building a brand. A special VIP hour is offered before the festival opens, and ticket holders enjoy access to specially selected beer not available to the general public. This is a great opportunity for true craft beer enthusiasts to get in early and meet their favorite brewers while things are still quiet. Once the doors open, there's live music, plenty of local food to sample, and even exhibits that teach about malt and hops. All of this happens against a quaint and welcoming backdrop, which Paul Leone believes is critical to the event's success.
The one thing that we try to do at our beer festivals is we try to pick a venue that has character of some sort. So the Desmond Hotel is our winter beer festival, and when you walk into the Desmond, you feel like you're outdoors. They've got trees, they've got a koi pond, they've got all of these great things.
Between the charming scenery and the variety of flavors available in both food and beer, it's no surprise festival goers tend to want to stay at the Desmond a while. Good thing it's got a hotel attached. But this isn't the only distinctive festival venue on our tour.
The Craft New York Brewers Fest in Syracuse was our first one that we ever did as a fundraiser. And so we tried to think of a really unique venue. And our president, David Katleski, who owns Empire Brewing Company, said, go to the Landmark Theater in Syracuse. And we're like, really do a beer festival in a theater? He said, no, really, let's do a festival in the theater. And we walked in, and it's this grand historic theater. And we took the place over. And so that venue is really unique in a lot of ways. We're on the stage, we're in upstairs, we're in downstairs, and people really love the vibe of that.
They love it so much that this event sells out in advance year after year. We talked with some of the attendees to find out what makes this Landmark Theater Festival such a special experience for them.
Craft beer festival like this that the New York State Brewers Association puts on, you're definitely going to meet the people that put their passion into this beer. The people that created this beer are presenting it to you and are knowledgeable, can answer your questions, and serve a great product.
It's awesome to talk to people that brew the beer because then you understand their vision and their passion, and you taste what they're seeing in the beer. So when they're describing it to you as you're tasting it, it makes it so much better.
For instance, I was wanting to try the coffee stout, and the brewer was able to explain to me that it is at first gonna have like a strong coffee flavor, and then it's gonna end with like a sweet like vanilla notes. And I think that's interesting to be able to get that information from the brewer.
I think what's great for brewers is that Number one, they're not in the brewery, because when they're in the brewery, they're focused on their work and they don't have a lot of contact with, outside people or the people that are just on the other side of the brew house drinking their beer. They're the ones, they're making the beer. So these kinds of festivals are great for them to just kind of, not necessarily sit back and relax, but talk to people who love their beer and who want to know more. So they're actually talking about their passion. So I think it's great for brewers to just be proud of their accomplishments, and they're not in the brew house.
Another value of these festivals is definitely, fresh beer and rare beer, something that you might not be able to just go to your bottle shop and purchase, something that might not even make it out of the brewery. A lot of these beers aren't even available in my area, so it's great to just be able to try them and experience them.
If there's one thing these festival goers have in common, it seems to be a willingness to try new styles and expand their craft beer horizons, which makes for some really lively conversation and activity throughout the theater.
I'm really trying to try new breweries, ones that I haven't recognized. I know the Ithaca ones and a couple other ones, but I'm trying to really branch out and see some more breweries that, I wouldn't have known unless I came here. Because that's the whole point, right? To try new things.
People are understanding the complexity of beer and understanding it's okay to drink beer at the table. You don't have to drink wine, you can drink beer if you like, and there's a wide range of different styles. With that, you're starting to see more and more restaurants having fantastic beer lists. Within New York City, in Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, now you're having these amazing restaurants with these amazing beer lists coincide with the rest of the beverage program.
I really love craft beer. I'm in the Syracuse Women of Craft Beer Club, so normally these kinds of events are what I like to come to. I'm kind of one of those people who always wants to be trying different beers instead of getting the same ones I've always had before, because right now there are so many options that most of the time you go somewhere and you don't really know where to begin. Kind of like to have an idea of what places have to offer.
Unique indoor venues like the Landmark Theater and the Desmond Hotel are essential for festivals in upstate New York, since half the year tends to be too cold to be outside. But it sure is nice when the warm weather comes around, and the Brewers Association has the perfect outdoor location for its summertime festival.
When we do our Utica event, it's at the FX Matt Brewing Company, which is the second oldest brewery in New York State and the second oldest family-run brewery in the country. The Matts, who are now in 4th generation, they're our hosts. So you have great hosts, you have a great location, and we try to highlight New York craft beer kind of in the backdrop of the history of New York craft beer.
I had boots on the ground at this festival, and getting to meet the legendary Nick Matt was one of the highlights of my trip.
I'm here with Nick Matt of FX Matt and Saranac Brewery.
I oftentimes will say when I'm introducing the fact that we've been around since 1888 that I'm not the founder, just to make sure that everybody understands.
It's been an amazing festival today. What's it like having all these brewers on the ground?
It's really great. We are delighted to have everybody. This is our second year of doing what they call the Roots Festival. And I suppose the basis of that is because we, in effect, are sort of roots for the brewing industry in New York State.
This event is sponsored by the New York State Brewers Association. Can you tell me about the importance of that organization?
A lot of what happens for brewers happen at the state level.
Right.
So it's really important to have an active association. New York State has gotten really behind this industry, and that, frankly, has played very well for all of us.
The energy of New York's craft beer movement was palpable at this event. And talking with the brewers, you could feel their pride in being a part of this community.
I'm here talking to the guys from Paradox Brewery. We're having a good time. You guys, I am loving your beer. This is the second one I've had from you guys. Tell me a little bit about the brewery.
So we opened about 3 years ago. We like to do a lot of different styles of beer. We like to do a lot of different hoppy stuff, a lot of wild stuff. We're right in the heart of the Adirondack Park. We just like to make a lot of different beer styles.
A lot of breweries will have one proprietary house yeast strain. What are you managing as the chemist at Paradox?
We have a whole lot of different yeast that we use on a regular basis. Our Machine Gun Funk culture is a house culture wild yeast. It's got upwards of 20 strains of yeast right now. We have our ale culture, which is a Paradox blend, which we put in our IPAs and all of our other ales. Then we have our lager culture, what goes in our Pilsner, our Helles, and any other lagers we do.
So you're members of the Brewers Association. Tell me, what are the advantages to that?
The New York State Brewers Association is pushing for 80% of the beer consumed in New York State to be made in New York State by 2020. It's our 80-20 rule. We're just really happy to be a part of the association. We think, New York State's producing some of the best beer in the country. We want to see New Yorkers drink more beer from their home state.
The brewers seem to be keenly aware of the interdependence between craft beverage and agriculture and the ways they can grow together to benefit New York's economy.
My name is Jason Saylor. I'm the owner and brewer of Strong Row Brewery.
And right now I'm drinking this Cascade IPA. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
All Cascade IPA utilize 100% New York hops and about 90% New York malts.
Amazing.
So this particular beer is Cascade hops from 5 different hop farms.
So you must have relationships with all sorts of farmers.
Yeah, we're really trying to push the idea of utilizing New York State ingredients.
Tell me what 1886 Malt House is.
We're a local malt house, basically looking to source 100% of our grain from New York State, and malt is what you need to make beer.
That's mostly what's in beer.
So this is roughly 10.5% IPA. That's how much grain that you're going to drink in your pint of IPA.
Is that real?
Yes.
Can I eat that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a base malt.
It's not as good as beer.
It's not, because it's only halfway there.
I'm here talking with Kevin from Keegan Ales in Kingston, New York, and he is about to pour me a Mother's Milk Stout.
Mother's Milk is our flagship milk stout. It's our super drinkable stout made with lactose sugar. Gives it some body and some sweetness without overly powering the roastiness.
And so you're one of 3 brewers. You must have a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, between the 3 of us, we're doing all of the brewing, the packaging, the cleaning, pretty much everything. So kegging, bottling.
This is a fantastic beer. It's roasty, but it still drinks really light.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Schmaltz Brewing.
We got a 50-barrel JV Northwest system. We brew 2 to 4 times a day, and we have a capacity to do about 4,000 barrels a year.
Amazing. And where are you located?
We're in Clifton Park, New York, a little bit between Albany and Saratoga.
You're having fun at the festival today?
Yeah, great festival so far, man.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Cheers.
What sets this festival apart from other festivals?
There's no fakeness to this one, you know what I mean? This is the people here. They're the ones who brew the beer. They're the ones who sell the beer every day. And so they have that ultimate knowledge about what you're sampling as a customer. And I think that's what's super cool about it.
Everybody just wants to help everybody else out, to make beer better in New York State. We want to make New York State the brewing capital of the world.
A worthy goal. But to make New York State the beer brewing capital of the world, you need customers. Fortunately, we found plenty of enthusiastic and savvy craft beer drinkers here, which is encouraging for the growth of the industry.
I'm here talking with Sam at the festival. Sam, where are you from?
I'm from the capital, good old Albany, New York.
Oh, very nice.
Yep.
And who are some of your favorite brewers here?
Here today, I would have to say Schmaltz Brewery makes an excellent IPA. Hot Mono, Wishbone, won some awards. Their She Brew I especially like. It ties women brewers into the marketplace.
That is a bold triple IPA.
Yeah.
It's clear to me that you have pride in New York State brewers.
Definitely.
Why is that?
Breweries are not here to fight. They're not here to be competitive. They're here to learn about each other and just share their passion for beer.
Yeah, the community is really strong.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm here talking with Dwayne, one of the festival goers here. So you look like a really big fan of beer.
Oh yeah, yes. I collect all kinds of beer stuff. I try to hit every microbrewery I can hit. I just like the whole taste.
Yeah, New York's got its own whole flavor profile happening, and I see on your shirt these badges, and they're all New York based. You seem to have a lot of New York beer pride.
Oh, absolutely. My wife and I take brewery weekends. We'll go down to Cayuga Lake or in the Finger Lakes. That area has expanded so much, it's unbelievable. There's hundreds of breweries down there now. And everyone, you get to sit there and talk with the owner of the brewery, and it's really cool when they talk about the beers and how they're into it.
There's a real community around for these breweries.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The Utica Festival was beer tourism at its finest. I'm probably not supposed to pick favorites, but I think we can all agree that hanging out on the Saranac grounds in the middle of June, getting to see New York's craft beer revolution in full swing, is a pretty awesome way to spend a summer weekend. They hold this festival every year, so I can't wait to come back and see how it grows with the industry.
Attending a craft beer festival is a great way to try different styles and develop your palate. Here are a few tips for enjoying one of these events responsibly. Make sure to eat before you go, alternate between beer and water, and don't feel obligated to drink an entire glass every time. Often festivals provide small glasses for tasting, and there are usually places to pour out what's in your glass before trying something different. Most importantly, always have a designated driver. Never drink and drive. The New York State Brewers Association hosts several events throughout the state, so if it looks like fun,
and it is,
you can visit their website to find the next festival near you.
That's all the time we have for today's episode.
Now it's up to you beer tourists to get out there and sample all New York has to offer.
Cheers.